Our YouTube is still going live. There we go. I think we're good to go.
Good. We up and running?
Yep.
Want to verify? It's good. It's good. It's good. All right. We up and running everywhere?
As I can see, YouTube's up, Facebook is up,
and Insta.
Instaface is going.
Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to the 034 Motorsport live chat. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. And we're here to answer all your questions about all things 034 and anything else you'd like to ask. We take a no BS approach to responding. We like to cut right to the chase. We are not prioritizing status update questions, so if you want to know like when something's going to be done or ready, we're probably not going to answer it. We get in enough trouble.
Just talking about anything we're all, like thinking of working on.
Well, there was all kinds of like stuff with the dongles saying that we said things, and then
it was all in the context of we are trying, we are working on this, but it may.
Yeah, but it was all like
differently.
That we even said anything, you know. So we're going to talk about stuff, and if you try to hold it against us, we are not going to fall for that.
Hey, we can wait another 3 or 4 months. We want to, push aside a bunch of other things and try and get older cables working.
Yep. So put the questions into the browser of your choice, and we will upload them to these space age devices, which are like it's basically an entire computer, just
very much
actually much better than most computers that ever existed. Someone would like to be insucked. Insuck me.
Then bundle up some insuction.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you would probably be filtered out by our high quality filter that filters down to 5 microns. So you probably wouldn't make it into past the filter. All right. Somebody's asking when our Black Friday sale will start. We do not pre-announce sales. I think this is just a philosophical thing for me. Is if someone tells you that there's going to be a sale, then why wouldn't they just start it right now? Like, what is the purpose of that? You know, to like, hey, you're gonna get cheaper prices in the future on this date.
Yeah. So
why not just start it now? So, our philosophy has always been when the sale starts, it starts, and that's how we do it. So, I think we have historically had a Black Friday sale since, I don't know.
Black Friday?
Well, Black Friday was kind of started in the 80s. I remember like people killed each other over Cabbage Patch.
Running to sales and shit.
Yeah. But that was before the internet. But no, I mean we've had, so we will announce it. And when we do it, you'll realize it's nothing revolutionary. Someone says, I understand all the yellow is for 034 branding, but would love to be able to change the primary color theming for the mobile app data gauges in the future. Heart. Oh, the heart's nice.
The heart helps.
Well, we're taking feedback.
It's something. We've got a whole tracker for feedback. I will say this is one thing that I've talked about before, and it's been on our list, but it's not a priority at this time. But it is on the concept board.
Yeah. And we're tracking all this stuff, and then we'll prioritize changes. But this is the very first version of the app. It hasn't even been updated since it's been released.
Yeah, we had a couple small things.
Okay, very small. But as far as like look and feel and functionality and GUI stuff, So we've been woofed. Thank you.
Yep.
Woofed right back at you. TDI tuning. We are not a TDI tuning company. I don't believe we've ever released a TDI tune. We could, but when it comes to tuning and calibration, there's really an ecosystem of products that need to be developed to deliver the best result. You see us doing that with all the tunes and applications that we release, where there's intakes to support, there's downpipes to support, there's fueling solutions, things like that. We are not a diesel tuning company. We don't really have any diesel products. If we do, it just happens that the diesel car uses the same part as the gas car, say like in a motor mount or suspension or whatever. But like we aren't committed to developing, diesel injection solutions, fuel system solutions, different kind of pump solutions, turbocharger upgrade solutions, intake solutions, throttle body upgrades. Joking.
They have throttles on them.
Some of them do. No, spark plug upgrades. It's not something we want to do. So,
The coil packs.
yeah. So it would be kind of disingenuous or very like limited for us. We would maybe come out with like a stage 1 tune, and that would be it. And so we're really not prepared to support it at the level that we do. So for the time being, I believe there are companies that do specialize in that. I don't see us doing that anytime soon. Can I leave the new 034 dongle plugged into my OBD without killing my battery? I am usually going no more than a couple days without driving.
You should be able to. It shouldn't be a problem at all.
That's about the power draw.
The dongle will drop down. So when it's fully active and talking to the Bluetooth and communicating with your phone, it's going to sit around the 60 milliamps, which would drain your battery relatively quickly. But it does go to sleep after inactivity, and once you disconnect your phone, it'll drop to like 20-ish milliamps or so. So not nothing, but it shouldn't be a problem for a couple days.
Yeah, a couple days. If it's going to be more than 2 or 3 days, you should just unplug it. There's no need to keep it plugged in anyways. If you're worried about it, just unplug it as you're getting out of the car and plug it back in.
Yep. I leave mine plugged in for quite a while.
Yeah. AYS3 big turbo. Yes, that is something we are working on that will be coming to market. The S3 market's pretty slow in general. I mean, there's just not a lot of cars, but we do actually have a prototype turbo from TTE that we are working on testing. So that's in the works. Yep. I was asking, what's one thing you guys want to see from your customer base besides sales, specific builds or avenues? Not nudes. We just don't have those kind of customers. That's a good question. We obviously love seeing you guys go out and use the cars, whether it's at the track, on a road course. Drag racing is always great. We love partnering with customers to go out and run fast times. Like when a customer runs it, it's, well, you guys didn't do it. You guys aren't able to do it. And then when we do it, then it's like no customer is able to do it. So, but ultimately, you guys doing it is the best because it shows that what we're doing works. We create the products, we create the support, and then you go do something special with it. You can't just do that with inferior products or support that don't work or deliver results. But yeah, I think in anything that generates enthusiasm, anything that describes your experiences of having fun with the cars, I think seeing customers talk to each other about what works, seeing customers support each other. I think like meets are great, cars and coffee, and what we do here at 034 is engineering and R&D and manufacturing, but like what it actually becomes out in the world is like community and friendships and people living lives and having fun and enjoying themselves.
We're super lucky. Everything we do is aimed at having an enjoyable, more enjoyable experience with your car.
Yeah. And I think sometimes there's an idea in society that hobbies are fun, but they're not that important. I think, I'm going to be 50 soon, and more in my life, my hobbies are probably some of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. I think having a family is important, falling in love, if you're married and that works out great, wonderful. Those are obviously the kind of things that we celebrate. Like if you go to the grocery store, they have cards for all that stuff. But there's really nobody out there celebrating the life that hobbies give. And I think for me, I have lots of hobbies I always have. And when it's nighttime and I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm stressed out from shit that's going on at work, from my divorce, from somebody that hurt me or did something to me, I could think about the next speaker build that I'm working on, or what am I going to do? How am I going to join these two pieces of material together? I can think about the next cool product that we want to make at 034, which cars are still a hobby for me. So those kind of things give me peace, and they help me sleep, or they help me just enjoy life when I can solve a problem and overcome something. So I think ultimately that's what I want from our customers, is to find that type of life and peace from modifying their cars and driving their cars and hanging out with their friends with their cars. That's ultimately what we do here, and it's really important. I hope to see that in you guys, and I love it when you guys post or share those experiences. And also sales are great too. Thank you. That kind of keeps everything going. Be wary not to kick the dongle when you get in the car. I was leaving mine plugged in until I found myself kicking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's going to depend on the vehicle. Some vehicles have it in a much more prominent spot, and also the way you put your foot down to the bed pedal.
Our dongle does hang pretty low, and so it's just how it was made, and so you're gonna have to watch out for that. Not only the girth, but the length of our dongle. Just try not to kick it too hard. It's pretty tough, but yeah, no, you don't want to be kicking that thing. So we will eventually someday come out with a different, smaller one, and as technology improves, we can keep making it smaller and smaller.
Yeah, there's some design reasons. It's the profile and shape it is currently, which we have flexibility to make it smaller, but yeah, it's not in the current hardware design, obviously.
I mean, the magnetic disk drive can only get so small. Yep. It's just all crammed in there. Let's see. For an SQ5 B9.5 in Dallas, which intake is a better choice for power gains, the S34 or the X34? At this time, currently both are excellent. In kind of the TTE 810 world that we're in, both intakes will flow restriction-free for that power level. If you think that at some point you'd like to flow even more than that, if you'd like to make over 1,000 horsepower, if you may want to do some full frame setup in the future, or just continue to take advantage of bigger turbos that come along, then the S34 is a great option. I think the S34 is attractive. It's just cheaper construction style. It just costs us less to make. That doesn't mean it's worse in any way. But it's the open design and the silicone and the filter is not any cheaper, but just the construction of some of the other components are much less expensive than, say, a carbon fiber box. So, people have been asking, should I get rid of my X34? And go, no, you don't need to. If you haven't bought either, then you can kind of evaluate, the price and the functionality and look that you get with both. But someday, our X34 closed box intake will become a power restriction and become more of a hindrance. And so that's where something like this S34 design, which you could put a GT55R in your engine compartment and run a 4 or 5 inch pipe through there and make 1,500 horsepower with this intake. So this is just this is a style and a format that just has virtually no limits moving forward. And that the S34 is louder. It's actually very loud. It's about as loud as it's going to get without just having no intake at all. But yeah, this intake on its own, up to this point right here, will flow 1,000 CFM easily. So at some point you could connect a 4-inch pipe to this, go to 1,000 horsepower turbo, and you've got a free-flowing 1,000 horsepower intake with no power draw. When a car pulls timing, what does that mean, and what happens to the engine, and does it make a noticeable change in driving, like shuddering or vibrations?
You'll almost never feel something like this until it's gone way off the rails. Pulling timing is generally an indication that you've got some detonation going on, and it's the ECU's reaction to that, and it will reduce the ignition advance in whatever cylinder has developed the knock event, and that's just to maintain a proper combustion event that's not lighting off too early.
Yeah.
Usually it's something that's happening all the time while you're driving, especially on pump gas. You'll almost never see the thing just sitting at zero. It's going to be doing its best to find the most optimum amount of advance for efficiency, for any number of reasons driving down the road. So it's always riding that line and kind of pushing the limits on what it can get away with. And at light load, it's pretty normal thing. But that's just the ECU reacting to.
The one thing you may notice is a loss of power.
Yeah, if it gets to the point. Yep.
So sometimes it could be described as like you went from driving on pavement to sand or something, and you could feel that would be for an extreme amount of timing. But typically, keep in mind the ECU is responding in milliseconds. It's responding substantially faster than we could even think. The ECU could have hundreds of timing events before you could even conceive of it. So,
I mean, we're talking about it's monitoring and as the crank is swinging past, it's monitoring these sensors in a very tight window of range, and then filtering on that and processing that. So it's an incredible amount of processing power to go around that single system.
Yeah, so it's supposed to do it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with pulling timing. The question is more, why is the timing being pulled and how much is being pulled?
Under what situations?
But it's just, it's not, the ECU really isn't pulling timing. It's adjusting the advance, in real time. And that's how ECUs function.
Yeah.
So what ultimately you'll notice is fast, smooth power and acceleration that doesn't blow up your motor. That's the ultimate result of timing pulls. But some tuners in the past and current will use the ECU's timing pull functionality as a tuning mechanism because they can't actually adjust the timing maps at the base timing maps how they should be. So then the ECU is working in a very reactionary way, and that's not how it's designed. So that's bad, and that's when bad things happen. That's when you'll feel hesitations or bad driving characteristics, and that's because the tune itself isn't programmed properly. But that has nothing to do with pulling timing. That just has to do with a bad calibration. Just a reminder, if you want to submit a question, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, just type it into the comments field of the live that you're watching, and then our team will transcribe it. Another reminder about Black Friday: we do not pre-announce sales. So when the sale starts, it will start, and you'll know about it then, and we'll tell everyone. We also reserve the right not to have sales, so that could also happen. But you'll just have to wait and see. How many miles are on the engine that you're tuning the MercRacing supercharger on? And they're asking about the numbers.
I don't think we're listing numbers yet. It's coming along well. Mileage, that motor is, I think, around 100K or so.
We replaced it once, right?
Yeah, way back. We had an injector bomb on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to remember what that motor weighed. It was just a used motor that got dropped in.
The subsequent question of, have we ever heard a 3.0T motor?
Oh, yeah, they followed up. Have you ever heard any 3.0T motors while testing the new supercharger? No.
Not on the new supercharger.
And the only motor we did that car that got damaged was, we had an injector flat out fail on the dyno. It was I don't remember where we got that injector set from. Anyway, we were going through something, and it was just full load for like a week. Mm-hmm. We were doing a bunch of calibration testing. and it checked out.
I mean, I think it's safe to say we have over 100,000 tuning and calibration miles on that car in general.
Oh God,
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
going
most
back
it's
8
like
years,
it's like
9 years.
lots of dyno and track
Yeah.
time, and
Well, and that's why we always say, like, you can go get a custom tune from a custom tuner. They're not going to have 100,000 miles of anything. You know, our production off the shelf file has all that built in. Do you guys consider it safe for B8 S4 run SüperDüper throttle body and stage 2 plus 207 millimeter pulley? Yeah, it's safe.
It's yeah. I mean, it's all these options, all these pressure. The what you really want to look at is the pulley ratio. So depending on what upper pulley, what lower pulley you're doing, what you're doing with the car, it's going to be, you know, the bigger the ratio, obviously, the more air you're going to be moving through the supercharger, but it starts to be diminishing returns, and you start running into heat issues.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really want that stronger mid range, you can run, you know, a bigger pulley ratio and get that. So there's trade offs. Another big thing is what fuel are you running this on? If you're trying to do this all on like 91 octane, I would say don't bother. Stick with a much milder pulley ratio. The gains are not going to be worth, you know, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, basically. Yeah. So, keep the ratio small. I'd say stage 2 is a really good spot for 91 octane. If you're able to run ethanol, you can go up obviously higher. But just be smart about what you're doing with it. There's a lot of options. We give you guys the freedom to do a lot, but you know, the amount of gains per step is not that great when you're talking about, you know, low quality pump fuels.
How can I learn more about the gauges being displayed in the 034 SPI live data stream? Can you make a video explaining what the variables mean?
I don't know. We've talked a little bit about this. It's kind of one of those things. It's there for it's an enthusiast, you know, set of displays and gauges.
Yeah.
You know, we might break down what some of it means, but it's kind of one of those things. If, you know, we're generally an enthusiast, we'll kind of pick that up as a hobby and kind of learn and
There's a discussion in the customer group, I believe, isn't there? There's a post about it.
A lot of people want units converted. That's one of the big ones. But I don't know if there's been about what the gauges are. I think I've seen it pop up, I think, once before.
It's something that marketing can consider. We could talk about it.
Yeah, but I mean, explaining it, like, the problem is, like, explaining these things. Some of them are fairly straightforward. Lambda is a difficult one to get your head around if you're coming into this completely green. Ignition angle is also something that's going to wildly change, and people don't know why it's doing it, because it does a lot of the ECUs have, you know, they're torque controlled ECUs. They have a lot of different levers to pull to control that torque. Ignition angle is one of them that it uses a lot, and it's called the fast path torque control because it's a digital instant thing. So you'll see that thing just swinging all over the place just when you're moving your foot a little bit. And that's it, just dampening or you know, resolving the airflow pass within the motor to get you a nice, you know, calculated amount of torque coming out the other end.
Mm-hmm. What should I do if I fill up with a bad low ethanol content E85 in winter? Is there anything that I can do to boost ethanol content if the pump gas just sucks?
If it's that low, I'd just run one of the regular pump gas files.
Yeah.
I don't know what the low is, but usually you can get away with just one of the pump gas files. I don't know what certification this is.
I mean, if it's supposed to be like E85, which would normally be like E60 or higher, and then you're like E50, yeah, that would be too low. Is an intercooler required for a B7 A4 Stg2? I don't know if we require it, but yes.
Yes. Definitely. Well, we don't even think we list the stage 2 file on the site for that. I was just B7 A4 needs an intercooler stock. Like, those things are this tiny, terrible little thing.
Yeah, that's bad.
So, yes.
Well, doesn't it have two? Yeah, that's a two-side intercoolers, but yeah,
they're terrible.
I mean, definitely, it's a good upgrade.
Fuel pump is also an upgrade that those usually need too.
Yeah.
Low pressure and high pressure.
If I put heat sinks on my intake, will that make it a cold air intake?
It's where you put them and what they're sinking.
Yeah, so, you know, the way heat works is it gets conducted, you know, to the place that is where there's less of it. So if the temperatures inside your intake are cooler than the temperatures inside your engine compartment, then heat sinks would bring more heat into your intake manifold. If it's cooler on the outside than the inside, then it would possibly, heat would go the other way. The reality is anything inside the engine compartment, like an intercooler pipe or an intake manifold, or even a turbocharger compressor housing, those devices should be insulated from outside heat. And then the cooling of the intake charge should be done by an intercooler that is out in either getting ambient airflow or has a fluid or water system that has an external cooling. The problem is there's just a lot of heat in the engine compartment, and so the engine compartment is not a place that's conducive to cooling. The front of the car is, right? Or a container filled with ice would help cool. So what you want to do is try to insulate your intake manifold. The factory intake manifolds are already plenty well insulated, so you really don't need to do anything with it. You want to manage the heat through the heat management system, which would be the intercooler. Let's see. Okay, people want to talk about S34. So this is a greatly anticipated product. This is our new B9 S34 Intake, and we also have a B9 a B9 SQ5 S34 Intake as well. These are S34 intakes, which mean they have a carbon shield. They are open to the engine compartment. However, when the hood shuts, it creates a pretty sealed area. And then a silicone coupler to reduce cost, as opposed to like a carbon fiber coupler in the X34 kits. And then these are different than the P34 because the P34s are silicone and plastic air boxes. We're really growing to like this product line, the S34, because it allows a lot of tuning flexibility for high flow, good fitment, and it's at a lower price point that most of our customers appreciate. So you see us doing more of these, and in the future, the S34 is really kind of where we're going to focus on. Let's see. Go over some of the specs. So the intake alone, which includes the shield, the mounting system, silicone coupler, and the air filter, is $395 retail. If you'd like to purchase it with our high flow turbo inlet, it's $515. When you buy the instruction bundle, it includes an adapter ring for the stock turbo. So if you're running a different turbo other than stock, then you would also purchase an adapter ring, but you're going to get a stock ring no matter. We believe this is the highest flowing intake on the market for the B9. The intake itself measures 1,000 CFM, which is what we designed it to do. This intake, with whatever turbo inlet that supports the turbocharger, will easily make 1,000 horsepower of restriction-free power, even into the 1,500 horsepower range as is. So it's a very high flowing intake at a really, really great price point. It looks great installed. There's a lot to look at in the engine compartment, and it lets out all the turbo sounds. So it's not for the faint of heart if you're looking for like a quiet, refined, buttoned up intake. This is going to you're going to hear every little thing your turbo's doing. It does require the use of our SüperDüper inlet. So, it is compatible with the stock turbo, with our stock turbo inlet ring. It is not compatible with our with the factory turbo inlet or our factory replacement turbo inlet. This is a high flow format. So if you're going to stick with stock turbo, framework, then I would recommend looking into one of our other intakes. But I mean, this works great with the stock turbo. You just need our higher flow inlet. Again, modular design, so it allows us to swap things up in the future. If we end up going with a different turbo with a different turbo inlet setup, we just have to provide another silicone hose, and it all fits. Someone's asking how much power does the intake make? So this is something we've been talking about for a little while. Intakes themselves don't make power in a torque request car where the ECU is controlling how much power the engine makes. So the amount of power your engine makes is going to be determined by the ECU's programming, as well as the net effect of any restrictions on that. So what our intake allows is a tune that makes more boost, that flows more air through the motor. So our intake supports higher horsepower levels, and that's from the increased airflow over either the factory intake or a more restrictive intake. So your motor and tune will make all the power possible with this intake. With any turbo that's on the market currently, there will be no restriction. The most power that can be produced will be produced with this intake. Anything else we need to discuss?
There's 2 questions.
Oh, okay. Thought open air intakes or hot air intakes were no good due to the lack of shrouding. No, that's just totally false. This is not a hot air intake. So, there is hot air on this side of the intake. This side of the intake is cool and the hood is shut. The hood sits and follows the contours of this, the top of the intake. And then you have cold air coming in through the factory provisions and past the headlight and the radiator support. So this is not an open intake. I think APR has an intake where their air filter just sits in the engine compartment, like right next to the motor. That intake will ingest hot air for sure because there's just hot air all around it. We go through great efforts to shield the hot air and then direct cool air into this space. So yeah, no, it's not a hot air intake. But because it's not in a sealed box, the air filter is not shrouded. There's plenty of room around the air filter for airflow. What you end up getting is very high flow and access to all the cool air that's needed, especially when the car is moving. At idle, if you're sitting there for 5 minutes, sure, this is going to start ingesting hot engine compartment air. But it doesn't matter at idle. More than I just did. Okay. As far as intake air temp differences of the different intakes we offer, there is no significant difference on it. Like I said, all of our intakes manage the heat and work to shield the intake from direct heat from the engine. So all of our intakes are going to perform well from an intake air temp point of view. The real spot where your performance is going to make or break when it comes to intake air temps is your intercooler. That's it. The intercooler will deal with all the heat that you need it to. If you don't have a big enough intercooler, then that's where you're going to have the problem. The job of the intake is to flow lots of air and filter, contaminants out of your engine. Your piston rings don't need dust, between them and the cylinder wall. So, any other follow-ups?
I think people just expect when can we expect delivery?
Oh, they're in stock, I believe.
I don't think they've built them.
Okay.
We have built currently.
We have all parts in stock. They are being built.
Like behind this wall.
Yeah, they're building them right now. So, I think you'll definitely see if you place an order. We've sold quite a few already. So if you place an order, you should see that in the next week, ship in the next week or two. We do have limited inventory. We brought in as much as we could to release the product. But yeah, the sooner you buy, the sooner it ships. All right. If you have any more follow-ups on the new B9 S4 or SQ5 Intake, B9, B9.5, both fit the same. Let us know. Let's see. With Sacramento Raceway closing down, will you guys be doing track days somewhere else now? This really sucks.
Yep.
Where we are sitting used to be basically there's a road called Alta Mall or Durham that used to be Fremont drag strip, like I think up through the late '80s, early '90s. Now it's all
Was it that late?
yeah, maybe '80s,
'70s.
Well, the heyday was definitely the '60s and '70s. But no, now it's like car dealerships and restaurants and McDonald's and Chipotle's and shit like that. Unfortunately,
through 88.
Yeah, 88.
88. Wow, okay, that's later than I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah, because my friend Doug he's my age and he used to race there with us.
He's really old.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, it sucks. I don't know. There are some drag strips in Southern California, so we're just going to be driving like 5-6 hours to go drag racing, but we will still be going.
Yeah.
There's supposedly this new private. Have you heard about
Tell
this?
me more. No, I did not.
Some rich guy opened like a drag strip in the middle of nowhere, but it's like pretty far south. It's like I looked it up. It was like a 7-8 hour drive.
Oh gosh.
But it's private. It's for street cars and it's not an NHRA strip, which that's actually bad.
So like the 330-foot thing, or like less than an 1/8 mile thing.
No, I think it's a full quarter mile that I heard. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, if I had that much money, I would build one out in the Central Valley because we really need one.
Yep.
I think it probably cost $5-10 million to do.
Pocket change.
Yeah. I mean, that is for a lot of people right now.
If there's literally, how much would it cost to build a quarter mile drag strip?
Yeah. I don't know. How much does it cost to lay down pavement? Really flat pavement. What else? We have seen some tuned MK8 GTI go to a dealer for a software update regarding backup camera, and the tune would be gone. Once tried to retune, it will fail. Is there a solution?
So what has happened is you got an OEM update. The ECU went in with a certain version of software. The dealer, when they were updating your backup camera, likely just went through the whole system, and any applicable updates were running. The ECU was likely one of those, so it just got updated. So that usually we have the latest software, and I'm pretty sure I know the situation in this one, and we have it. It'll be up like today, in an hour or two. So it's just a matter of like the OEMs release new files. We have to get all of the tune and calibration set up for those files, and you'll see it again on your flashing portal very soon. That's all that is.
Yep.
And it's not that the flash would have failed. What really happens is you go to the flashing portal and it just says no files available. Nothing has failed. We just don't have that version of the software set up on the server just yet.
But it would just be imminent to us.
Yeah,
it's
usually
not far.
Exactly, it's a day or two behind typically.
We get access to those updates too, and then we integrate them into our tune.
Mm-hmm.
Is the S34 intake filter oiled or dry filter? We've done lives about this before. We consider it a dry filter. It does have a very light oil coating on it. It is not an oil filter like a K&N.
Yeah, you can't like get any residue on your hands or anything.
Yeah, if you touch it, it's not oily. There's a very lightweight oil that we provide in our cleaning kit that just kind of puffs up the filter media and allows it to filter properly. But the dust and dirt aren't sticking to the oil. They're getting filtered by the media. And again, you can touch it and it doesn't feel barely like any oil. Who's that company? Is it BMC that makes the foam filters? And it's like an open cell foam and it's soaked in a heavy viscosity oil, just like a K&N. Those filter medias work as long as there's oil there. The bigger issue is that oil gets sucked into the motor. It coats your intake pipes. On cars with MAFs, the oil can coat the MAF sensor elements, and it just kind of creates a mess. And it can cause running issues if the MAF gets fouled. So again, this is essentially a dry filter for all practical purposes. It has all the benefits of a dry filter and none of the negatives of what a technically oiled filter would. What does the filtering is the gauze media that we use that has pores of a certain size that filters out down to 5 microns dust and any kind of particle that's much bigger than that. People are asking, like, they're asking us, what's better, 034 IE API? Like, I mean, we're here to represent 034 products and services. Of course, we're not going to say that someone else's tune is better or more reliable than ours in any way. I actually don't believe that that's true.
I think I can't think of an instance where I would confidently, think someone else has put more engineering effort, more testing, more.
Another person's asking, like, Unitronic or 034 for the MK8 GTI. Like, I don't know if you know, we actually are 034
myself.
So yeah, we're not even familiar with Unitronic's product on that in particular. I will say, when it comes to some of the competition, there are issues out there with their tunes and calibrations. If you've been living under a rock, you may not have heard about what IE is dealing with right now. 034.
That was
yes. So according to IE, no, we're here to represent our tunes, and we work very hard to make them safe, fast, fun, smooth, all the good things that you would
accessible.
Yeah.
There's basically no easier platform out there to get yourself a file loaded up.
Thoughts on people saying your AMAX shifts don't work properly on the DL501 3.0T cars?
We are in the midst of reworking a lot of the DL501 stuff that's coming along with the Stage 3, or whatever you want to call it, the supercharger updates we're doing. There are instances where AMAX may or may not be enabled depending on box code, situation, driving mode. I'm going to have a much better breakdown once we're through this round of calibrations on what and when AMAX will be turned on for you. There's a lot of considerations in the field that we have to account for. AMAX works well on a lot of cars, depending on power output, traction, and health of the clutches, and obviously the DSG stuff is critical. So it's not something that has been globally doable on the higher end spectrum of things without consequences, or repeatable, reliable, proper shifting launches and that kind of thing. So we've got a lot of stuff in the works to get all of that sorted for everything across the board, and it's coming with a bunch of other features and I would say features. They're just calibration techniques behind the scene to get even more performance out of the transmission. So more stuff's coming.
Yeah,
it's all in conjunction with the supercharger work we're doing
now. Favorite automotive platform? Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm an Audi guy. I always have been. Pretty biased. I've also built my entire life around the Audi brand and supporting Audi vehicles. So whenever I look to solve any kind of problem with a car, I'm always going to look at an Audi first.
It's just the level of product knowledge we have around it. It's an easy solution for us for almost anything we want to do.
Yeah, so I think I could certainly make arguments on why I love and support the Audi platform and brand. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to some pretty biased, arbitrary ideas.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do with an Audi that you can't do with a different car. But I would argue that Audi does a lot of things really well, and if you're gonna kind of put your stake into one brand, it's a good one. But for me, it's the heritage, going back to the 80s, and the 5-cylinder and rally racing, their Trans Am racing, and IMSA GTO, and just really buying into all that. But yeah, I think Nate's right. Like, when you know something this well, why go try to figure? I mean, even when I think about BMW or something, it's just breaks my brain. Just trying to figure it out. So
yeah, we're very busy, folks. So it's hard to pick up a whole nother platform and really ingest it the way we know the Volkswagen Audi stuff.
Yeah, and I think VAG is probably more accurate. But, Volkswagen and
Volkswagen Audi Porsche.
Very,
it's
very
all
connected,
very relative.
Yeah, and I love Porsches. They're just a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Less practical. Any plans for more power for the A10 with a built motor, or is the A10 maxed out on the B9? No, there's more power in the fueling and in the engine strength categories. So.
Yeah, so we're capping torque right now to sane levels for factory motors and factory builds. So there's some more mid range. It's not huge. I think we talk about this weekly at this point, but there's some on the table for sure.
Yeah, with like E85 type tunes.
Right. Yeah, it'll be an easier Yes, E85 will be opened up more soon.
I mean, how much boost are we? We're pushing 40 psi. Right?
Yeah, no. I mean,
close.
I'm 38 millibars, but 3,200 millibars thereabouts, I think. And
that's the fair.
Yeah. So there's really no way to push 91 or 93 any further. But with certainly a high octane fuel, the turbo will make more power. Does the new 034 dongle allow for a wireless connection to a laptop, or is the wireless connection only available to the app mobile?
So soon, well, okay, let me rephrase.
Yes
sorry.
or no?
In the future, we're going to be migrating the Windows app to the exact same code base that is the mobile app. It's going to be the same experience for you guys across the board. And then in that situation, if your laptop has a BLE connection in it, or a BLE device in it, it should work fine. You can flash from my laptop just fine wirelessly.
But currently
no.
any MacBook Pro or Windows.
Any Apple Silicon device that can run an iOS app, you can currently run the device and flash wirelessly there. So yes, those laptops.
Which is the laptop acting as a mobile device, but we're running a mobile iOS.
Yeah, but when it'll come to Windows 2, I flash from over Bluetooth on Windows stuff all the time now with development.
Mm-hmm. For fueling headroom, wouldn't RS7 injectors be somewhat of a safety net for the TTE 710 setup? The 710 setup, it doesn't need more.
It's been pretty
fueling.
solid.
It's actually been
the turbo's kind of done. Of course, we always want more, but it's one of those cost to benefit things. Of a whole another set of injectors for that.
Yeah.
So.
Now the 710's been rock solid, and from the very beginning, that's been our position is it doesn't really need more fuel. The A10 makes so much more power, and the fuel system's right there. So, what is considered a built B9 3.0T? Like what components? What's the max power we can see with a TT-A10 on a built engine? We haven't determined what the max power is on the A10. Yeah, it would be speculation. I would say at minimum, this is me. I don't think this isn't defined out there, but at minimum on a B9 3.0T, I would say you need rods and head studs.
I'd add valve springs to that.
Yeah, you could do valve springs, but just to address the strength concerns of the rods and the head gasket potential. Better would be with pistons because the 3.0T pistons have shown to have some issues. Not widespread, but we're seeing pistons cracking and breaking and things like that without any signs of detonation. So yeah, I mean, and practically speaking, rods, pistons, valve springs, head studs. And you may as well do main studs while you're in there. That would be a proper built motor, at this point for a B9 3.0T.
Yeah, I'm assuming the main bolts are all one-time use only anyway, so you got to buy all this stuff. The head stud's definitely on there. So.
And while you're in there, you may as well. There's no reason not to do the mains. But I think that's a solid 1,000 plus horsepower. Probably 1,000 foot-pounds. Pound-feet of torque motor. Yeah. So yeah, and that's the future for the B9. Past the current 810, that's the future. Will you make 104 tunes for For the 810 750?
It's potentially we've done a bunch of 104 files in the past for other platforms. It's a very, very, very low use rate on them. It's maybe.
Maybe the one area is in Europe. They don't have
That's
access
the
to
catch.
E85.
Yeah, is the European market.
Although some of our European customers have been buying E85.
Mhm.
Yeah, 85R is almost the cost of 104. So.
Yeah, if you can get
If you get one or the
the
other.
race stuff, it's
But I don't know if the 104 is any better. I mean, it's a shame to pay that much for E85. But E85 is good. You just
For the lab stuff, yeah.
you just have to deal with the capacity issue. Someone's asking about this is an update question, but I'll let it through. The B9 catch can, it's coming along well. We went back to the drawing board a few times to address some additional functionality issues that we found that needed to be addressed. And everything's in manufacturing right now. We're trying to bring that to market as quickly as possible. So we're sorry it's taken a while. We have also decided to bring just a hose upgrade to market. So the catch can is what we obviously recommend doing. But for anybody that doesn't think they need a catch can or wants to save some money, we will just simply offer a PCV hose upgrade as well. What else? Got a lot of questions.
Somebody's asking. Speaking of E85, are we drinking coffee or water? Not sure how that ties in, but I've got water in my cup currently.
You do?
I do. I usually do for these because I pound a bunch of coffee and usually don't through by the time we
definitely coffee. Yeah, that's my second cup for the day. Any updates on Q7 4M or 4M.5 tune? Well, I'm still driving and testing the 4M tune, and it's awesome. I actually really like the 91 file. It's a lot quicker and just feels like factory, but just faster. I mean, it's like how the car should have come.
Yep. Yeah, and the TCU tune as well.
Yeah, and then I tested the E85 file, which was a lot more power, and it's just you have to deal with the 85, getting E85 in the car.
Yeah, if you're commuting a ton or it's not accessible, it can be its own thing.
Yep. So, and then the 4M.5, we need to work on that, but I know there's a lot of
the turbo motor. Yeah, we're actually in the process of flushing out the 3-liter stuff to be other.
Do we have a car to work with on that one?
I know a guy that knows someone that has one.
Why not?
Not the 4M.5 specifically. No.
Yeah. If you're local and you have a 4M.5, let us know.
Yeah.
Q7 or Q8.
I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I think either. I think we have the Q8 Stewart's car.
We're still trying to get a hold of that one.
Yeah. Okay. I heard he was bringing it down, but what else? For the 8.5 lower pulley upgrade, one of you in all the answers always states that you go with the smaller for heat management, the bigger one for more power, but how much more power would I get?
Well, that's the thing. It's a diminishing return. You do end up making a lot more heat, and it's going to be, how are you planning on using this? Do you want to just like rip onto the freeway once in a while? Are you looking to road course the thing? Is it a quarter mile, attempts you're trying to run?
Yeah. The point is for day in and day out, just get in and drive. Go with the smaller.
I always try and steer to the smallest reasonable pulley that I'm.
If you have a concerted
situation,
if you have a concerted effort to like set the new world record for drag racing or break in, to the low 11s or go to 10s or something, then the bigger pulley is going to give you every little extra ounce of power that you can get. And on a cool night or with additional, intercooling, then it will make more power and will make that difference. But on a day-to-day basis, like a kind of pedestrian civilian type, capacity, definitely the smaller pulley is going to give you the most practical power that you can ask for.
And it's going to be more repeatable, more,
Yeah.
Generally, power up top is not much different between them. You'll get, it's the mid-range is really where the bigger pulleys will get you a little more of a bump, but peak power output's not that different between them.
A question about the B9S4. I was looking to do stage 2. Do you have any complaints about reliability? And I know I need the intake and downpipe. Is there anything else I would need? No reliability issues. I mean, it's on 034 tuning with our products, it's a very reliable setup. What we always say is you can make about 75% as much power on stage 1 with a factory cat, intercooler, and intake, and that way you're basically in emissions, factory OEM emissions configuration. The high flow cat, racing cat, will give you a little bit more power above the intercooler and the intake.
But that's
it's not less reliable, but you're now driving around, out. You're not in compliance anymore as far as what's coming out your tailpipe. So it's up to you, but no reliability issues, frankly, with any of our setups.
I love these questions. Not asking for an update.
Okay, if you say you're not asking for an update,
and then immediately ask for an update on this thing,
we will continue to.
We see you.
We'll continue to reveal stuff as it comes up. How dangerous is running E85 full time on a B9? Not dangerous at all.
We've got lots of guys that have been full timing it for quite a while.
There's probably thousands of people out there doing it. So no, not dangerous. I have a 2019 S5 Sportback. What's the best way to make 500 wheel? I don't know. It's like stage 3.
Yeah,
I don't know what fuel they have. Yeah, you could do the 710 upgrade on E85. Certainly 810 will do that.
I'd say best way. I'd steer 810 or 750 for now.
Yeah,
and that's going to give you a nice, comfortable headroom above 500 wheel. Especially if you're running ethanol.
If I buy the B8.5 Stage 2+ bundle, can I tune one stage at a time, or do I have to go straight to 2+?
Yeah, no, we give you everything you purchase and below. So you'll get access to all of the files if you end up looking at a 2+ package.
And then you can do one stage at a time.
You can do any combination you want.
Including stock. Yeah,
and the even stock. Yep.
Will TT710 get any further updates?
We've talked about basically applying some of the stuff we've done to the 810 stuff. There's honestly, we have very few relative cars on that right now. But yes, we've talked about updating it. It doesn't need anything really. It's been a solid.
Definitely, we're not planning on getting more power out of it or pushing it at all or anything like that. So it could just be some.
It'd be like under the hood stuff to make our lives easier when we're porting all these different versions.
Yeah. But I'd say from the customer perspective, no, not really. We may do some housekeeping and maintenance, on the file, but it's not going to change your driving experience.
Yep.
What's the worst that would happen if I run stage 2 on the B7 A4 without the upgraded intercooler?
It's your supporting mods.
Would it just be heat-soaked intercooler? Yes, you will heat soak. You will make less power. The ECU will pull boost. There's kind of no point in doing stage 2 if you're not going to support it with the right intercooler. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of like asking, I'd like to become a truck driver, but I'd like to drive a Prius. It's like, well, you can still haul stuff around in a Prius, but what's the point? So I would say save up and do an intercooler. I think there's got to be some dirt cheap.
Much cheap stuff.
I mean, you can get eBay crap now that probably is better than stock. So I think one car that we had here, we just threw like an eBay front mount intercooler on it, and it was a substantial improvement.
Oh yeah, almost certainly is. And again, like we mentioned before, your fuel pumps are going to be a problem as well.
Mm-hmm. For a pulley upgrade using 179 millimeters, do I need to upgrade my radiator charge cooler? I'm driving an A6 3.0T.
Yeah, you need it stock. That's another thing. These intercooler systems are not sufficient for performance oriented driving in any of these cars.
Yeah, intercooling. Just listen, guys. Intercooling is not the place to skimp on a turbo motor.
Supercharged turbo, anything,
any kind of forced induction. And actually, cars used to come like in the 70s, turbocharged without an intercooler, and then you may have seen cars that say like turbo intercooler on the back. Actually, like stuck it on the back of the car because it was like we put an intercooler on. It's just like that probably cost them $15 install an intercooler. But no, the turbocharger. If you want to learn about this, go buy the book Maximum Boost by Corky Bell. Really basic book about turbocharging. But if you understand everything in that book, I would consider you an expert on turbocharging. And so you can read why intercooling is important, but turbochargers produce heat, a lot of heat, and the intercooler has to get it out, and heat is very bad for combustion.
Anytime you compress air, it's going to generate heat.
That's right. We have tried calling multiple times over the past week. Is anyone in the office to talk?
For all of the voicemails and everything,
yeah, I'm sure it said that you need to send us an email.
We would have gotten back to you by now, and if you needed, if it needed to happen over a phone call, which is generally exceedingly rare, then we can facilitate that.
If you'd like to speak to somebody, send us an email, and you can make an appointment to talk to somebody.
But I mean, the number of support instances we're dealing with, and the amount of times we have a technical phone call or something like that comes through that is complete and comprehensive and able to be solved with a phone call in a reasonable amount of time is almost zero.
But I'm pretty sure that when you call, it does say to send an email. So I'm not sure where the confusion is on that. But we're here to help.
Yeah,
we'll get you taken care of. Just send us an email.
If a phone call is needed for something, we'll be on the phone.
Definitely. We're pretty much out of time.
Yep, I got to bounce too. I got to pick up get on now.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And we will not do this next week.
I'm going to be with family in Maine next week.
It's Thanksgiving week, so we're going to be focused on
making
anything that comes along and cooking Thanksgiving meal. So enjoying ourselves and getting a little relaxation while we also make lots of dank memes. Mm-hmm. All right. Cheers, everyone. See you next time.
Take care. Sorry about the dank meme spread coming.